This is a video about Ryder's betrayal and a general analysis of any missions that involve Ryder. So starting from the first mission, Ryder is present along with the other main members of the gang at the funeral. Nothing too interesting happens in terms of Ryder until the cutscene in which the baller's car chases Sweet. After that, you're treated to some dialogue between CJ, Big Smoke and Ryder. Straight away, Ryder is very antagonistic to CJ, calling him a liability and saying why he even bothered coming back. This is very disrespectful, as CJ has just attended his mom's funeral recently. At least Big Smoke acts friendly by asking how is the East Coast and commenting that CJ appears thinned out. And like I pointed out in the Big Smoke Betrayal video, is that in this mission, the baller's car will only shoot at you, and if the baller's car is not blown up prior to reaching the car park, it will chase Sweet solely. It ignores Ryder and Big Smoke, which is essentially one of the earliest signs of the betrayal. The reason being is that Ryder and Big Smoke are one of the 3 high-ranking main Grove Street members as well, so it makes sense to attack them, especially Big Smoke, who is the slowest out of the 3. In Ryder's first mission, he wants to rob a pizza place for painting over their graffiti, yet he doesn't seem to be caring about the baller's graffiti, one of which is literally right around the corner. Like before, he is still antagonistic to CJ again by calling him a buster and the likes. He doesn't seem to show any sympathy for CJ even though his mom was recently killed. Any further antagonistic comments I won't really comment on unless they have any further meaning. So Ryder decides to enter the shop without wearing any disguise, then he proceeds to put on some form of a mask inside the shop itself and then rob the store. If you take a look at his actions, it's not a very thought out plan. Not only that, it's revealed he's robbed the same spot in the past as well, as a cashier knows Ryder and he even says, "Not this again." This is a bit speculative, but you can see that the cashier pulls out a shotgun. A hit from that close range would be fatal, and Ryder could have potentially done this on purpose. My reason being is that he has robbed the shop before, so the shop is aware of his presence, and so they may get a gun for protection. He asks CJ to get something to eat, so CJ will be right in front of the cashier. He decides to put his disguise on, which seems to be a semi-transparent mask, in the shop itself. He decides to stop aiming the gun at the cashier, which gives them a chance to get the shotgun. If CJ was to get killed here, it would have been very convenient. So in cleaning the hood, he mentions that these, dope addicts piss him off, yet he himself is addicted to and is shown to be constantly taking a drug himself, which is a bit hypocritical. Also, if he knew of a baller's crack-den, which was this close, it makes no sense that he, along with any Grove Street members, didn't attack this place already. Apart from what I mentioned, nothing else too interesting takes place in this mission.
How moms get killed? We gotta talk about it.
We all gotta talk about it. They was going for Sweet.
How you supposed to know that? You know what people are like. Say they have love for you, but won't say a word. Too damn scared.
Some people say they saw a green Sabre doing the work, then speeding away.
Yeah, but people like to talk,
you could
don't
drive.
they? Anyway, that's half of Santos you talking about.
Yeah, you right. My bad.
Hey, bruh.
They had sprayed the house. I ain't see shit.
The mission drive-through, I would say this is one of the main missions that show Ryder's betrayal. So to start off with, how moms got killed, we gotta talk about it. As soon as CJ mentions this, Sweet doesn't have any time at all to talk about it before Ryder butts in by claiming they were going for Sweet. Ryder says this with 100% certainty that he was sure that Sweet is the target, which is a bit suspicious considering that it could have been a drive-by on Grove Street members and a stray bullet could have hit CJ's mom. It could have been a general drive-by in the house to scare Sweet or some of the Grove Street members. Sweet's house himself is about 2 houses away, whilst Ryder's house is about 1 house away. If they were going for Sweet, they would likely shoot at his house instead of Sweet's mom's house, unless they were expecting him to be there. If they were expecting him to be there at the house, then likely someone close to Sweet would know this. Ryder's comment is also countered by Big Smoke as well, which further proves the point. Big Smoke sees what Ryder has said, and so attempts to deviate the conversation and just play it down. Then Ryder mentions a green Sabre doing the drive-by. This is another slip-up as well. Big Smoke obviously doesn't want Sweet to think about the drive-by, and would rather Sweet not talk about it and have it stay in his mind. This is beneficial for Big Smoke, as if Sweet is preoccupied with this, he is less likely to do any beneficial actions for Grove Street, It would also help by deterring investigation in general. Big Smoke responds with people like to talk, don't they? This has two meanings in this context. First meaning is that he's saying that these are rumours, and so shouldn't be treated as anything significant. The second meaning is that he's actually warning Ryder that he should stop talking, as what Ryder is saying is not in their best interests. Ryder acknowledges this finally and agrees with Big Smoke, so the statements are dismissed. Another thing to notice is Sweet also mentions he didn't see anything. Considering how Sweet rushes to the house shortly after the drive-by and he didn't see anything, how is Ryder meant to know who did it? If other Grove Street family members saw the shooting, they would have told Sweet, and as Sweet doesn't know what car it was, it could be assumed no Grove Street family members would have seen it. This means only the perpetrators, the people who organised the drive-by, or were involved in some capacity, would have some knowledge of the car that was used in the drive-by, which was a green Sabre specifically. Later on, when the Ballers' car attacks, Ryder does shoot back at the Ballers, unlike Big Smoke. Emmet ain't got shit. This may be relevant for some speculation later on. Emmet's place is essentially a pistol spawn point after this mission. Ryder seems to show some jealousy for CJ, being annoyed that CJ is constantly driving. However, this could just be an in-game reference to the fact that in the GTA games, you are the driver for like 99% of the missions. So nothing else too important here, just some drive-bys and some ballers. So water is a nickname for the drugs that Ryder takes, and he seems to have buried some and forgot where he buried it. He also states that he needs some before he goes to deal with things, which shows he has an addiction to it. The purpose of this Ryder mission is to rob an army veteran of his gun collection so that the gang can get some guns. Ryder doesn't even seem to have a plan, and he nearly ruins the chance of stealing the weapons by yelling loudly,
Come out, you old bastard!
Ryder also shows to have no intention of giving up on the usage of his drugs either, which could be a cause of some of his behaviour. In the start of this cutscene, Ryder decides to cook his own drugs and he nearly causes a fire potentially. Ryder is also generally an antagonistic character, but yet he acts submissive/passive towards a crash squad. What's interesting to note is, at the end of this mission, Ryder reminds CJ of Grove Street by stating "for life." This is like the gang's slogan/motto, and the meaning behind it is that you stand with Grove Street for life. This is something that doesn't necessarily show down the line. And then in robbing Uncle Sam, Ryder's plan is to rob the National Guard for their guns. Again, Ryder states you gotta stick by your homies, which is something he doesn't really do quite a few times. The plan itself is quite crazy as well, as it's literally two gangsters assaulting and robbing a military compound. Even Ryder didn't have full confidence in his plan. So CJ ends up being tired with Ryder as he's always on drugs, and CJ believes it's affecting Ryder's judgment. He also says to CJ that he doesn't know what's going on. This could be seen in two main ways. It could be seen as Ryder simply saying to CJ that CJ is not aware as Ryder is, in the sense that Ryder is more knowledgeable about being a gangster and such. Or it could be seen as a slip-up by Ryder. Ryder may be boasting or making fun of CJ that CJ doesn't know what's truly going on behind the scenes, and as Ryder is under the influence, it could be easier for him to make a slip-up like this, as was seen in the drive-thru mission where he commented about the green Sabre. In the mission house party, Ballers attack Grove Street when they know that CJ and Sweet are present. Ryder says that he tends to get Big Smoke and some Grove boys, and he leaves the scene. There's also more signs of Ryder's jealousy as well, when he says, "What he done that ain't done her." Ryder doesn't really acknowledge the work that CJ has done in a short amount of time for the gang. Ryder nor Big Smoke never returned in the mission, despite the fact that there was enough time for Ryder to literally drive down the road, pick up Smoke or any Grove Street homies and return. They don't even appear in the end cutscene as well, which shows that Ryder didn't return on purpose. It's also known that the gang have phones as well, so Ryder could have just called Big Smoke and told him to come, and Ryder himself could have just stayed behind to help back up CJ, Sweet, and the remaining Grove Street members at Grove Street. So initially, the family's gang used to be one giant crew before they split into 3 different sets a while back. So the gang decided in this mission to reunite the families. Ryder shows that he doesn't like the situation, as the other family hoods that are present used to be Grove Street, Realistically, this is a valid concern to have, considering how they have fought before, like shown in the mission Sweet's Girl, and likely fought at some other point before CJ got back anyway. The police arrived at the scene to take out all the family's members, and like I mentioned in the Big Smoke video, this is literally the perfect opportunity for Big Smoke and Ryder. Sweet would have reunited all family sets, and this would have been a major obstacle in the way of Big Smoke and Ryder, who want to be able to sell drugs freely. As all the top family's members of each set are in one place, they are easy pickings for the police who arrive and take them out. If all of them are taken out, that would only leave Big Smoke and Ryder, who would be able to take over the reins of the remaining family's members and could even convince them to join them drug dealing and such to get back at the police. CJ isn't going to abandon Sweet. He gets out and goes to help. Big Smoke and Ryder choose not to help.
Man, it's every motherfucker for himself.
This Ryder quote goes against what Ryder says multiple times to CJ, like when Ryder tells CJ he needs to be there for his homies or to remember that the gang is for life. It shows how hypocritical he is, and yet this is another sign of his betrayal as he's willing to leave Sweet and CJ to fend for themselves. What ends up happening is that Sweet and CJ survive, Big Smoke and Ryder do return and pick them up. As they have a link to Tenpenny, it's not out of their imagination that Tenpenny would feed them the information off the police radio, or that they assumed CJ and Sweet have survived by seeing the chopper being taken out. Ryder hands CJ an AK, which is bizarre. The reason being is that he states he got it from Emmet, yet it's also stated in the past that Emmet doesn't have any good weapons apart from the pistol, which is the only weapon you can get from his place the entire game. The AK-47 is a Russian weapon, and in previous missions you see that the Russians are doing deals with the Ballers as well. In specific, gun deals, so it's not out of the imagination that Ryder sourced this gun from the Ballers at some point. If Ryder mentioned that he got the AK-47 from ammunition, I wouldn't really bring this point up. Finally, we reach the mission in Green Sabre where the betrayal is shown and confirmed, and after this point there's only a few more interactions with Ryder which I will cover. In Photo Opportunity, you see Ryder arrive with the baller. This mission is you seeing the main members of a drug syndicate. Not much else to this mission. Later on in the mission Pier 69, you interrupt a meeting between T-Bone Mendez and Ryder. You end up killing both of them. Then in the last major reference to Ryder in the mission Yay Kaboom Boom opening cutscene, it shows CJ feeling kind of sad that he had to kill Ryder, who he once considered a close friend. Caesar then says to CJ that Ryder attempted to have sex with Kendall, who is CJ's sister. However, there's no one that would be able to refute this statement anyway, so after this point Ryder is pretty much never mentioned again. Ryder as a character is a hypocrite as well as antagonistic in general. He likes to point out flaws and berate CJ for numerous things. He's also a character who is not as smart or scheming as Big Smoke is. He's addicted to drugs which may be influencing him in general. Another thing to note is that in Ryder's missions, you do not directly attack any Ballers apart from in the mission Catalyst. However, even in that mission, you only attack about 4 Ballers anyway, which isn't much anyhow. I will admit that Ryder does help the families somewhat by supplying Tech-9s after you complete his missions, but even then, he and Big Smoke just need to get rid of Sweet and CJ anyway, and so the Tech-9s wouldn't really be of any benefit, especially with the ranged weapons like the AK-47 that the Ballers have access to.